everybody. Welcome to the TechRaptor podcast. I'm Robert Scarpanito, your features editor.
Andrew Otten, editor-in-chief.
Rutledge Doggett, site founder.
Andrew Stretch, samurai editor.
Yeah, Samurai editor. We're chopping up this podcast to give you the best product we can. Later this episode, actually, we're talking about Trek to Yomi. We're also going to talk about some Turbo Overkill and some final thoughts on Horizon Forbidden West. It's taken quite a while to clean up that one, but we've got some thoughts for you later. But first, let's get into the news. Square Enix is losing quite a few of its Western studios, and it's selling it off to the big ol' Embracer Group, because Lord knows they need more studios, because Embracer Group is up to thousands of employees now under their wing. So they're getting Crystal Dynamics, and they're getting Eidos Montreal and Square Enix Montreal, which includes IPs like Tomb Raider, Thief, Deus Ex,
Legacy of Kain.
But the Square Enix is not losing Life is Strange, Outriders, or Just Cause.
Oh, thank God they're keeping Outriders.
Who has Guardians of the Galaxy? Their most recent projected failure.
That'd be Eidos Montreal, right?
Yeah.
So would that go? Yeah, that probably.
Embracer's already said that they were hoping to get working on, maintaining those licenses and stuff, and keep those potentially another game in the franchise.
The bigger question is who kept Babylon's Fall?
No
Well,
one.
that's
No
not a
one wants
Western
it.
dev.
I think there's only one person in the world interested in Babylon's Fall now.
That's right.
And that would be Dash.
Shout out to Dash. People know who he is.
The one and only Babylon's Fall.
The man who was the only person playing Babylon's Fall and just spent 450 pounds on Sims expansion content.
No, correction. He attempted to spend 450 pounds.
Thank God his bank stopped him.
It's like, you have enough money. We just can't let you do this.
Yeah. That's a good bank.
Somebody saw that transaction come through and they're like, nah, I gotta stop this.
Yeah. We'd rather your bank statement say drug deal than Sims expansions.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. We know it. Yeah. So from the IP that Square or that Embracer is getting, it is an interesting mixed bag. There's definitely some stuff in there that is, it makes sense that you would get rid of it. Like, when has anything happened for Deus Ex? And we already know Square Enix's thoughts on the Marvel properties and how much they sunk into those games and how much those games have not turned out around for them. But Tomb Raider is a very weird one, especially because Square Enix has chosen to retain the rights to Just Cause, Life is Strange, and Outriders. Like, Outriders, I'm surprised at. Definitely. That game just had new DLC, like a big new expansion. Like, this was, meant to be their like Taken King kind of thing. And I have not heard anyone talking about it.
So can we rewind a bit? Deus Ex is bad?
Yeah,
Question mark?
That comment didn't make sense to me. Human Revolution and Mankind Divided are not that old.
Yeah.
Well, how old are
even
they?
Tomb Raider, looking at the re-releases there and how successful those were.
Well, so Mankind Divided is pretty, not like old, but like Deus Ex hasn't been around in quite a few years now, like in terms of
2016 was Mankind Divided.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so it's not that old. It's just 6 years ago.
It's not that long. It's not.
Yeah, it's not that long, but also I don't know if would it be Eidos Montreal, right? I don't know if they've been working on any Deus Ex anything. And I do remember Mankind Divided came out to a pretty divided reception, right?
Wasn't as well received as others, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if in between then Eidos was working on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, then Guardians of the Galaxy. So if they could somehow return, they're the natural fit for the return of the franchise. If Embracer wants to go back,
I guess as a whole, I'm not dissing Deus Ex as a franchise. I'm just saying that nothing has been happening with it. So it like that at least makes a little bit of sense why they would think this is like a paused or dormant property that can be something that goes. but they're wanting to keep around the bastard child that is Outriders. Like, Life is Strange 100% makes sense. Just Cause, that's a physics engine cash cow for them.
I don't know. I feel like Just Cause is like, it's in that weird wheelhouse where it's like, I'm not sure if I would keep that necessarily. I mean, I guess. I mean, they've made that decision, right? But I mean, if they're willing to sell off Tomb Raider, like,
well, I think this is
I don't know where their bar is.
Just the nature of what they've sold and just the IPs they've sold, not necessarily even just the dev teams that are going with them, is pretty indicative of Square Enix's approach to their Western development overall and how they've not properly been able to value things, seemingly. Because as just Tomb Raider alone, as everybody talks about, like Tomb Raider, there's not a lot of game franchises that kind of permeate throughout most culture that everybody kind of knows. Most people, if you say Tomb Raider, a lot of people are going to know, even if they don't play games. Yeah, they're going to have heard of Tomb Raider in some
They're going to picture Angelina Jolie in the hit movie Tomb Raider and the Temple of Light.
Something. I don't know. But sure, people know about it. So that in fact, they sold all of this for $300 million. When how much did Destiny just go for? Destiny 2 for Bungie? Like $3 billion or something. Obviously, it's different. That's a games as a service thing, so they got revenue rolling in and stuff like that. But it's kind of hard for me to believe that Destiny as a franchise is more worthwhile.
I think oh right, yeah, they're currently under scrutiny from the FTC as well. But that's just because
they always are.
Yeah, it's just because it's a deal over a certain amount.
So I just find it hard to believe that Tomb Raider or Bungie itself is worth 10 times more than Tomb Raider is. And I think that part of that evaluation comes from that Square Enix, for some reason, doesn't think it's worth it, which is bizarre to me.
I wonder if it's like cost to revenue sort of thing for them, right? Because I imagine like the cost of building a full Tomb Raider game, like especially the reboots, I would be willing to bet it costs more to make that than it does a Life is Strange game.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So in terms of like return on investment, it's probably easier for them to say like, okay, it's worth putting like this amount of money into a Life is Strange game, because even though we don't make as much raw profit, like we make it all up in revenue, right?
I'm sure that's partly what the thing is. Just can't help but think it's been just mishandled by them, and that if someone else is given a shot, not saying Embracer's the one who will do it, no idea. But I think they recently we heard with this too that Crystal Dynamics and Eidos, they made barely a profit in the past year or two or something, like percentages, very small amount.
Yeah.
And that's kind of wild to me that they have not been able to figure out how to do things properly, and how much the Avengers game really fucked them. It's pretty crazy that they put a lot of money into that, obviously, and I'm sure the Marvel license was not cheap at all, particularly Avengers. It's not like they were going after some random hero. It's like the biggest outside of Spider-Man. It had to have been very expensive.
Yeah, I mean, they even announced that game around the time like Infinity War and Endgame was happening,
like
right?
That.
So like the Avengers were like the hottest thing in the world probably at that moment.
Oh, absolutely.
And that game still flopped.
Yeah, it's crazy how much that big gamble really fucked them over.
And then the flip side to all of these sellings off, or if you had another point on that same line of thread, Scrappy, go for it.
No, I mean, I'm just thinking like, because it tanked them this much, like it makes this deal, I guess it reframes just how bad Avengers feels.
I think so, especially with Tomb Raider getting wrapped up into it. All in one, it's kind of wild.
But the flip side of this is, can also be seen as Square Enix, shifting off things that aren't profitable, that might look bad on their books, cutting the fat, becoming nice and lean, getting some good money in with Just Cause, Life is Strange, and then
Outriders.
No, I'm not even going to bring it up again. Is that apparently, according to Grubb and Greg Miller, is that apparently this is what has been the secret that everyone's been whispering about, that Sony may be on an acquisition spree soon, and it's whether Square Enix, probably notably to lock down Final Fantasy 16 and everything happening in that wheelhouse
That would be
going
pretty
forward.
wild.
Which then like kind of recontextualizes and makes sense that Square Enix is just shrinking down to, you know, mostly its Japanese entity to get bought.
It would be nuts.
Yeah.
It would be a very different acquisition than Sony's done. Because usually they're like, all right, we're buying this development team, essentially. This is the franchise or game that you're working on. And Square Enix is a lot bigger than all that. They have multiple teams working on all kinds of stuff. So it'd be interesting to see how they would handle it, because they've basically always been, okay, you're working on your one prestige game, you're working on yours and yours, so they constantly are rolling them out on a schedule, but they're not doing multiple things. It's all big stuff. And Square Enix does so many. They do the big things. Obviously, Final Fantasy 16 is going to be massive, but they do tiny games also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if that deal happens, right, under Sony, right, obviously Final Fantasy would probably become a PlayStation exclusive. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, 7 Remake is basically a PlayStation exclusive, right?
It has been for most of its life.
And EGS.
Yeah, it's on Epic Games too, so it's also on PC, right? But like still Xbox has no real way of getting their hands on a high-res JPEG of Cloud.
I mean, Xbox had 15 at launch.
It did.
It's got a web browser, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, going through going through Xbox's history with getting the short end of the stick with Final Fantasy, starting with, you know, 10 and 12 were PlayStation 2 only. 13 hit everything simultaneously, and all of the 13 games were simultaneous.
Yep.
14 obviously is PlayStation only. 15 came out at the same time. You know, it's only been recently that all of the Kingdom Hearts has been moved over to Xbox as well. Kingdom Hearts 3 was a simultaneous release, but then the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC was a month delayed on Xbox.
PlayStation Advantage.
Yeah, the PlayStation Advantage. I hear that Spider-Man's going to be in the next Kingdom Hearts as well. Mm-hmm. So it does look like PlayStation. Sorry, not PlayStation. That Square Enix has gone from, you know, looking for parity and then shifting away. I did some looking into it earlier this week as well to look at like sales numbers and stuff, and to see things like, you know, launch weekend in the UK, it was like 80% of copies sold physically of Final Fantasy 15 were sold on PlayStation. It was like 75% to 80%. But then, you know, there's a whole bunch of other interesting factors that play in there, but it definitely, you know, for JRPGs, PlayStation is getting the lion's share. We've known this for a long time.
That and the Switch.
Yeah. And the Switch.
Yeah, and the Switch as well. I think
that's one of the most interesting parts of this. What happens to it? Because Square Enix puts a lot of stuff on Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I were Microsoft right now, I'd be like a little frustrated. Like, because you remember, wasn't it just 2-3 years ago they were making this big push, like, we will get every Final Fantasy game on Game Pass.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They've done it.
They have, but then like 7 Remake hasn't been on Xbox.
It's been limited
rolling.
to
yeah.
It's not like
that was
all
definitely
there.
not what people were expecting.
Right. And then, you know, if these rumors become true, right, and like Sony does buy Square Enix, and then Final Fantasy 16 becomes a PlayStation only game, I mean, I just don't know how much value there is in the like, oh, all the Final Fantasy games are going to be on Game Pass except for like the 2 most recent really big ones, besides Final Fantasy Origin, I guess.
I guess technically what they said was that in 2021, all Final Fantasy will be available on Game Pass. But then there's like 12 asterisks that it's like, there will only be 3 of them at a time on Game Pass. They'll only be available for 2 months, and then they'll cycle off. Like, at the moment, all of 13 is still on, but like 10 and 12 have, I believe, cycled off by now.
Gotcha.
So it's like, what they said was not incorrect, but it's certainly not what they were pitching.
Yeah.
They were very, very technical with their wording.
It's just not enough time to catch up on the story before the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we've also got to think, going forward, starting 2023, 2023 or 2024, all of the Activision titles we're expecting will be like Xbox exclusive first party titles with the Actiblizz.
All their games are poop though, so who cares?
That's true.
So I wonder if it becomes like a Cold War of, you give us Final Fantasy and we'll give you COD.
Yeah, maybe the kids can spend the weekend at dad's house, that kind of thing.
I like the idea of who's Russia and who's the US in that. I mean, who's USSR, I should say.
I don't know, and I think in this current geopolitical climate, I'm not willing to say anything further.
No comment.
That's a loaded question.
Someone asked me the question, I'll give you an answer, but all right.
Nobody asked him the question.
Nope.
Not taking that bait.
Yeah,
I think that especially with E3 coming up. Sorry, not E3.
Not E3.
With the period
E3
of the year formerly known as E3.
That's right.
Or previously known
Summer Games
as
Fest.
E3. Yeah. I reckon we'll probably see some more big talks of acquisitions there. I would not be surprised if we saw Square Enix up on Sony's stage for one reason or another.
I know, just to briefly mention that this supposedly the producer, the director, whatever, said that Final Fantasy 16 is basically done, and a trailer will be coming soon.
Yeah,
so
they tweeted that like 2 days ago.
Yeah. I would be kind of wild if they're like, guess what? Here's this new Final Fantasy 16 release date, and also we fucking own Square Enix now. Final Fantasy 16 is a PS5 exclusive.
Watch them. They do all that, and then they say Final Fantasy 16 comes out November 11.
Dude, fuck that.
Oh, God.
Look, I'm already taking time off for Starfield so that I can help with the guides.
That will kill crazy.
Me. That will kill me.
That'd be crazy.
But I will say, one of them is going to be a $70 game, and one of them will be free on Game Pass.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't saying it to I wasn't arguing for a side. I'm just saying that's what they're going to do.
I hope not. Oh my god,
that'd be wild. I would love to see that. That would be a Cold War.
That would be pretty great.
If you're interested in doing guides for either of those, please let me know.
If you think about it too, so if Final Fantasy 16 does come out this year, does that also mean that maybe, right? Because we're just guessing, spitballing. We're looking at a holiday season of. I'm just saying this because I want to see Rudd's blood pressure go up. Ragnarok, Starfield, and Final Fantasy 16, possibly within a span of a couple weeks.
Right. Also, Stalker potentially, but that hasn't been announced as delayed. If that comes out as expected, that'll kill. I'll cry. We also have Dark Tide in September, Forspoken's in October. And there's another one that I've just closed the 2020
it's okay, guys. By then the 2022 game of the year will already be out. Digimon Survive. I know it. Right. You know it. We can all just the year's over.
You know that it's going to be delayed between now and then, probably, right?
There's only a month left.
It's supposed to come out in June, I thought.
July.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, is it July?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm pulling up the 2022
Before we move on from the
again,
Embracer stuff, one thing I did want to say was it gives us there's some old IPs that are pretty classic, legacy stuff, like Deus Ex. I know it's been a while since we've had a game, but those IPs go back a while where those are classic games. So it'd be interesting to see more stuff on that. I know people would love to see some development team take up Legacy of Kain somewhere and see more of that. Yeah. Same with Thief. The last Thief we saw was, people didn't really like it all that much, but
yeah, well, because that Thief came out in the shadow. It was in the shadow of Dishonored too, right?
Yeah, So they now own some interesting. The amount of IPs they own is fucking wild, but now that they own all these,
because now Embracer is the company of Borderlands.
Yeah,
it's a company
Borderlands,
of
Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
can you imagine if IO was still a part of Square Enix? The Hitman franchise too.
Oh man,
Embracer would own them.
Yeah,
they would. Yeah,
I still think 300 mil is too low.
Yeah,
for those for those IPs alone. I feel like Tomb Raider on its own is worth 300 mil.
Well, I think what it was is Tomb Raider on its own was worth like 500 mil, but they had to. It was like a package deal. They had to take Marvel's Avengers with it. So they're like, okay, so that's like a 200 mil discount. We'll negotiate down for that. We'll take it off your hands.
The Tomb Raider IP also comes with it a movie franchise.
Well, I think when I was reading stuff that a different company owns the film rights.
Oh, never mind. I retract my statement.
I could be
Not
wrong.
that the movies are doing particularly well either.
No. I think someone else owns the rights to the films.
But it's still just like a potential.
Yeah, I mean, it's still attached to if they wanted to do something. They're into reboots and stuff. You think they could convince Angelina Jolie to reprise an old Lara Croft? Fucking.
I mean, she just did a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
I don't see why
Harrison Ford's almost fucking 80, and he's doing Indiana Jones.
Yeah. In the video games, too.
They're going to do this Indiana Jones, and then they're going to posthumously revive him for the next one, Indiana Bones.
Nice.
Well, as long as he gets nowhere near a plane,
Isn't that the Mario
he's reprising
plot?
his role.
Let's move on to our next big story of the day, because we just got two really big stories that are related to acquisitions, but also pretty shitty stuff.
Yeah, when did covering the games industry stop being about games and more being about litigation and business acquisitions? What's up with that?
It's always been that. Seems like. So as many of you probably have heard, $70 billion ago, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, or they're in the process of it. In the process, yes.
FTC has to allow it.
They have to allow it, but the shareholders did vote last week that, we'll let this happen. But the New York City Employees Retirement System is coming in to say, hey, hold on a minute. We don't think very bad person Bobby Kotick is fit enough to negotiate the sale of the company. Specifically that they're alleging that essentially Kotick had reason to want to, how to put this in legal terms, get the fuck out real fast, real quick, at any cost. So he negotiated a deal that's basically like his motivation for success would not have aligned with the company's motivation for success. Like he would have taken the shittiest deal he could just to get out, essentially.
I cannot think of any reason why he would want to jump ship. Nothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All of the sexual harassment that he was 100% aware of.
Yeah, and
maybe that
likely participated
threats,
allegedly.
Well, not just allegedly. They admitted that he did the one.
Oh, that's true.
About his assistant.
Confirmed.
Yeah, they're like, that was a long time ago, but like he's apologized. Like, you're just admitting to. All right. Like,
yeah,
that's
so
absolute shit show.
Right, and so where this is coming from is because the employee fund is a lot of like money tied up in this, and so they're thinking like on their end they aren't getting as good of a deal because Activision Blizzard isn't getting as good as a deal because one man at the top just wants out. Yeah. And it's the one man who negotiated it without really bringing in the board. Like the board was pretty hands off with it, and Kotick is like pretty quickly, just almost impulsively, you could argue.
Which, I mean, it is surprising that the board wasn't involved. That's usually when you're talking acquisition. I mean, look at Twitter, for example, right now. The board is very involved. And I think there's a shareholder vote for them coming up too, in terms of, I think they want to reject Musk's bid. So that'll be a fun week. But the fact that the board wasn't involved at all throws up red flags, because they have a vested interest in ensuring the best for the company. So
I mean,
what dirt does Bobby have on them?
Wasn't it? It was just last week that the shareholders approved the vote, like the merge as well.
Yeah.
So I guess they're in whatever percentage of the board that said nah, no way, and now after the vote not going their way, they're pursuing legal action. A press release states that more than 98% of Activision Blizzard's shareholders have voted. At this time, it appears that it went well. So 98% voted. We've got no idea of, aside from Kotick saying that it was an overwhelmingly supportive vote.
Yeah.
We don't really know what the situation is there.
And the thing with this lawsuit, it's not like they're going to be able to stop it.
Yeah.
It's a fishing expedition for them. They want the documentation leading up to and surrounding the acquisition and the negotiations between Microsoft and Kotick and all of his stuff. So they want to get information that maybe something from that they could then act upon. But it definitely seems to be an attempt just to get something more. So,
yeah, and I mean, it's understandable, right? Because I feel like if you, like, before all these allegations came out against ActiBliz, like, if you're someone who has stake in this, right? Like, you bought Activision Blizzard stocks because, hey, they release Call of Duty every year. It seems like a pretty safe bet, right? Like, and now all of this is happening, and you can clearly see that the people at the top are just like looking after themselves more than the company.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
writing was on the wall real early on with that. Like when the first stuff came out, and the board's like, "We stand behind him," and it's like, "What?" Like almost every other company would be like, "Oh, let's get this obvious lightning rod and just kick him out, and then we're golden. You know, we look good in public sights again.
Right?
We got rid of the bad man." But they've stood by him the whole way.
Yeah, and I mean, and then you look further, and it's like, you know, we had that other story. What was that last week? Where Activision Blizzard was trying to tell, like, the shareholders were trying to say, hey, so New York State wants us to, like, issue a yearly report about harassment and abuse issues, and we want to say no.
Yeah,
which is like, okay, so you're clearly hiding. You want to hide something.
It is, but I guess so. If we want to give them a big heaping, like,
benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, like if I'm someone that's sole interest is I want to keep the share price up, the idea of being like, hey, let's have this report that we're not gonna, like, we don't know how it will then be taken publicly that could affect the stock price negatively very easily. And commit to something that could be that volatile to our price.
Yeah, it's like,
I don't want that.
While the public perception of the rejecting the harassment report is definitely a negative, there's nothing aside from ActiBliz being able to say, "Look, we did a good job this year, guys." There's only negatives for them. Even if it comes out and is good, that won't do anything. If it comes out and is bad, that's going to tank.
So I could definitely see the logic of saying, hey, we don't want this as...
But it does come across sketchy as fuck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not defending it at all. I'm trying to just explain the rationale.
It makes sense. It does not change that you're bad people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, especially because it's after all these allegations come out, right? Like, if there were no allegations and just for some reason the New York State wanted them to release a yearly report about harassment, it'd be like, I could see both sides of the argument a little more, right, in terms of just like the optics of it all. But now where it's like you have these allegations, they're clearly, like, even if most of them are proven false, all of the ways that the company and the people at the top have been reacting is like they're hiding something, obviously, right? Yep. And not wanting to do this report is just furthering along that, like, they're just hiding stuff. And it just doesn't look good. And it's clearly, like, as a consumer, I could totally understand the argument. You're like, I want to vote with my wallet, and that means I'm not buying Call of Duty this year, or I'm not buying... What else does Activision Blizzard do? This, it's like, WoW. I'm not continuing my WoW subscription, et cetera, et cetera.
I've got the solution. If we want to have the stock raise, have everyone on the board be happy, just release another new Spyro game. That's it. That'll make the world a happier place. You know, well-known first-party Xbox mascot, Spyro the Dragon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's Dragonfly Sparks.
Yeah. Sometimes played by Wayne Brady.
And they'll bring in Elijah Wood, too.
Yeah.
Let's get the whole gang back
that
together.
Spyro movie.
Can't believe we're not
Everything else is getting TV shows and movies.
We're not talking Candy Crush, man. The real...
Oh, yeah, of course, King. That's huge.
The real hero of the company.
Always forget that.
Yeah. They're easily to forget, but they're also like, I would bet money they make the most of any of 100%. The companies.
Yeah.
They make the most money for them. No question.
Yo, Candy Crush coming to Game Pass.
Yo, when's that Call of Duty X Candy Crush promo gonna happen? Play some Candy Crush in game.
Happened.
Has it?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't pay enough attention to Call of Duty to know.
I mean, didn't they just have like Godzilla and Attack on Titan? They're getting weird. They're getting Fortnite level with their crossovers.
Well, because they're realizing, hey, it's working. Fortnite's still popular. Not to say, I mean, I think Call of Duty is still like the best-selling game or close to it every year, just about. So,
well, yeah, but you don't have to buy Fortnite every year.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, so like they don't need to borrow too much Fortnite because obviously whatever they're doing is still working. Warzone is still very popular.
Yeah.
What do we think the first crossover will be once the acquisition goes through? Will it be that you can get a Needler from Halo, or that you'll be able to get Kazooie's butt?
I hope Kazooie's butt. Or skins where you look like Banjo and or Kazooie.
That would be good.
Every time you fire the gun, it's just
Oh man.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like every time we see Activision Blizzard in the headlines nowadays, it just gets worse.
Yeah.
It's
and I mean,
not
even stuff
really
that seems positive, like we have it linked to in here that they hired their VP of culture, who's going to strategize around making an inclusive and diverse workplace, et cetera, et cetera. Like, just because of all the news, it's hard to not look at that and just be like extremely skeptical and cynical about it. Like, I'm sure they're going to do so much. Like,
yeah,
there's just they have a lot of work to do to gain back any kind of public trust of anything that they do.
And the tough thing about it too is you look at this news through the lens of everything they've done. So it's like they're only doing this because
that's right.
Of all the
just
heat,
trying to win back our favor.
Right. Yeah, man.
But
it's just
what else? They also had the Overwatch 2 stuff that they went from having their best day ever. That happened to coincide with when they were giving out beta keys for Overwatch 2, and you need to watch 4 hours worth of Overwatch 2 streaming to get a beta key.
Oh my god.
And then a week later, they lost 99% of their viewership on Twitch.
Yeah, well, then people like got their Overwatch 2 beta key, and then they start playing the game. They're like, hey, I thought I was playing a new game. Isn't this supposed to be a new game?
They are.
I saw a tweet earlier that was like, here's the difference between these maps in Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2, and it was blue maps are now orange and orange maps are now blue.
Day
nighttime maps are day, yeah.
That is legitimately one of the differences.
Yeah,
I guess
weird.
I guess we should also just, when we pick news stories, we take a look at what we've covered on TechRaptor, and with our current coverage ban on Active Blizzard content, with exclusion to things related to awareness of the perception of the company, such as acquisitions and lawsuits and processes in that, it's definitely us as we read our own site, obviously, us as TechRaptor readers, as we're like looking at information. We also don't really have much of the other news, the other happenings that are going on.
Yeah, like, because I mean, we wouldn't cover like, oh man, they just announced a new Call of Duty, because like, who gives a shit about that now, right?
Yeah, the company still needs to redeem itself, and it looks like they're still a fair way away from that.
Yeah, I tell there's a lot of loud, vocal, big group of employees actively working there that have said there is a noticeable and significant change within the company. I don't see us leaving the ban anytime soon. So,
especially after all this good news that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Nope. Let's shift gears here. Let's talk about some of the better happenings going on. Otten, you've been slaving away at a Sony exclusive.
I did it finally. I beat Horizon Forbidden West. I completed it. And now, I said beforehand, I had some big news in relation to that. Very big news.
Now, just for the listeners out there, is this big news going to spoil the story or anything like that? Or
no?
Okay.
So, I was getting at the end of it, and I get one of them stupid fucking trophies that I don't give a shit about.
Correct.
But then I clicked the thing to like bring up the menu or whatever, where it tells you about it, and I saw I only needed 3 more to complete the whole thing. And so I looked at what those included, and they didn't include that much more work for me to do. So against everything I believe, I went and got the platinum trophy for it.
Hell
You did
yeah.
it.
Wow.
did.
Is this your first platinum?
Welcome to the
is.
dark side.
It
Wow,
is, and I
first
felt bad immediately after doing it. I was like, I hate it. Why did I do this? This is a waste of my time. I do
Yes,
not.
come to the
He's
collector
lying.
side.
He loved it.
I did not. You know what else I really hated after I saw it? Like 10% of people got it. And I'm like, so this is fucking the like weakest one. Lame. Anyway, only reason I did it, and I shit talk achievements all the time. So now it's like whatever. Now you guys can bring this up whenever I start shit talking achievements.
Well, you had to
Good.
get a taste of it to see.
Yeah, just to
do you like? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like the dog that gets a wedge of lemon and it's like, what the fuck? And then just it's the enemy now. I know for certain that I hate that thing. The thing needs to die.
You know, you can speak from experience, not just.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now
The fucking passionate vitriol here is fantastic.
they're awful. I hate them. They're so dumb.
So platinum
There are-
aside, did you enjoy your 400 hours in the Forbidden West?
I think it was 70 something hours at the end of it. So I was thinking it's way too big of a game. Like, oh my god. There's so many things in there. I was thinking more about like in terms of that when I originally talked about it months ago, and even before it came out, that I was like that whole open world fatigue. Definitely there. There needs to be shakeups to the old formula of how so many AAA games are set up with this open world stuff. But then I was thinking more about like this is a very good example of that done really well, except there's just a lot of it. So unless that whatever I'm doing is super good, doing it 30 more times isn't all that great. You know, by number 20 or something. That's kind of like what I had a problem with Ghost of Tsushima. I liked the game quite a bit. It's like, I don't need 70 fucking foxes or something. I don't remember how many. But no, I thought it's definitely a big improvement on the other game. I hate that it's getting totally overshadowed by other stuff like Elden Ring, just totally overshadowing it. This time, it's Forbidden West is a great game, and I think that people sleep on the gameplay quite a bit, especially if you are looking for something that is a lot more nuanced and actually takes a lot of thought and care and planning to do well. Like if you've played on a harder difficulty, you will get your shit rocked, and you have a ton of tools. That's what's wild to me is immediately when I first started playing the game, they just give you so many different weapons and tools that you can use, and it just gets bigger and bigger the more you play. Like you could play so many different ways that have different strategies that are viable or more effective versus a machine or another. And it's actually extremely engaging if you're willing to get into the systems and actually use them as they're designed to. It's really neat how much is in there. And it is extremely hard game if you're playing it on the hardest difficulty. Those higher level machines will kick your ass for sure. But I like it.
Would you call it the Dark Souls of Horizon Forbidden West?
So far, yes. If I had to pick between the two, this is definitely the Dark Souls-ier one. Story-wise, I was kind of like, I think one of the more compelling things about the original game is that it's so much discovery of the world, how it used to be, and how we got to where we are at that point, why Earth is what it is, where the machines came from, who Aloy is as a person, like how does she grow, and what is her overall part in the story. I think that was a lot more interesting than what happens in Forbidden West, because in Forbidden West, I was thinking after I was done, I was like, man, Aloy as a character doesn't really change, like where she ends up in Zero Dawn and where she ends up in Forbidden West, she's kind of the same person. We don't see any growth with her because she's kind of established as I'm just the good hero person who's going to go save the day thing. Towards the end, I guess it was like, oh, you need to learn to like work with other people better or delegate, and like we need to come together with all these communities as one. And I'm like, I guess that's a little something she learned. I guess
she learned the power of friendship.
That was a little bit of my disappointment.
It's an after-school special.
Is that I really liked what they did with her character and developing her in the first game. So I was really looking forward to what they did in this, because I think Aloy is an excellent character in AAA games. But not that it's bad. It's just like, man, we got more of Aloy, but there wasn't a lot of character stuff for her to deal with. It's particularly with a lot of what's happening in the plot. It feels like there was opportunities there. I don't want to get too much into it, but that was a little bit of a letdown. And then they definitely at the end give you the hook for the sequel. And it's fucking wild. I'm definitely down for it.
Well, Horizon fucking wild.
Yeah. They'll probably get DLC as well, because I know that the first one had that quite expansive.
They had the one, yeah. I don't know what they would do with this one, but I'd be down for it. For sure. Just the. I wish I could talk spoilers about like the ending of it, but like the ending of it is pretty neat, and the setup for the next one is all right. But
maybe we can talk a little bit about what the rest of us have been playing, and then we can circle back and do a "if you don't want spoilers, leave here" kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did want to ask you about is I remember when we were initially talking about this game, we were kind of musing about the side quest quality and like.
Oh, that's right.
Is it maybe a little better? Like, is it still worth doing these side quests, or is there a point where you're just kind of like, I'm done. I'm just going to focus on the main story?
I mean, further in you get the side quests you get. There's definitely, so like they break them up. There's quests, and then the errands. Errands are usually like, go get me that fucking thing. All right, thanks, buddy, for getting me that thing. Side quests are usually more involved, and they were generally pretty good. I think I wouldn't say they're amazing. I think the Tanakh are the big part of it, the different tribes and how they interact. So a lot of quests are from them, and you learn why they are the way they are, or something more about their culture because of it. So yeah, I'd say they're generally pretty good, and they're worth doing.
Okay.
Way better than the first game. First game, fucking don't bother. They're all awful. almost all of them. Not awful. I mean, they're just time fillers.
They're just very like boilerplate. Right.
Yeah, they're just
go here, fetch thing, return.
By far the worst part of the first game.
Okay, all right. I'm glad to hear that they like stepped that up then, because
I think they're definitely better, and I think that the collectible stuff around the world's more interesting too. Like one of them are black boxes of various crashed planes around the world, and you hear the last minute or so of whatever that's being recorded, and I think it does an interesting world building stuff for what
just
exactly
a whole bunch
happened.
Of screaming and then a loud crash.
Sometimes, several of them. But it was just an interesting one to find, because it was always neat to just see them how they integrated these crash planes into the environment too. That's the one. I definitely want to say this. It's absurdly beautiful, that game.
Oh, yeah.
Still, they've been like 70 hours into it. I'd go into a place, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like this is wild. This is what games are like now. And this wasn't even. It's made for PS4 and PS5. What's one that's just total next gen? We don't give a fuck about previous gen stuff. We want to just go all in on.
I mean, if you're interested in that, you can check out Godfall.
That's on PS4 and stuff now, you bastard.
Now,
but that's on Xbox One now.
Yeah,
that was a game that we got a press release for before it was announced at Gamescom. No, not Gamescom, at Video Game
PGA.
Awards.
Oh,
and they were absolutely highlighting that it was built for the PS5, could only run on the PS5, and now it's on the fucking Xbox One.
So I want something that's
baffling,
not even possible on a previous gen console. That I can't. I want to know what that looks like. And the fact that this is open world and looks and has so much cool shit in it at once is.
Were there any noticeable loading areas or like hallways?
I would be spoiling. At some point, okay, whatever. At some point, you can fly. But there was definitely pop-in stuff then.
Okay,
but that I get with just how when you're on the ground, like running, it is incredibly densely detailed.
So it's on par with like Pokemon Legends Arceus with like flying pop-in.
Fuck off! No, not even close.
So we're saying that Pokemon Legends Arceus is a better game than Horizon Forbidden West.
No, I'm saying that they both have pop-in, so they're both equally on par with one another in terms of looks.
Yep. Checks out.
Well, yeah. So what point can Aloy start catching the monster, the robots in the little Pokeballs?
Right away. Oh, not in Pokeballs. Well, you could override them immediately.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
And then ride them.
Catch them right away.
So it's just
Gotta
like
catch
the
'em all,
legendary
Forbidden
Pokemon.
West.
Yeah, that's a game I do want to get back to, because now that I've been done with Elden Ring, I've been playing like smaller games because I don't want anything really, really big right now. But I feel like the next time I do, I want to go back to the Forbidden West and explore that again.
Yeah, I definitely, like, as much as the bloat and stuff got, just the environments and just hanging out in them, it was just, I very much am into the visualness of the visuals of a game and how the artistic approach to it and stuff like that. So I'm just fine, like, walking through a world sometime if I like it enough. Like that. You know how often I got on a mount in that game? 0. I run everywhere.
Wow.
I don't know. Just like soaking it in.
Yeah, just take it all in.
Yep.
Stretch, you played. What does that say? Does it say Ghost of Tsushima but side-scrolling? Oh no, Trek to Yomi. You played Trek to Yomi.
Trek to Tsushima.
Yeah. I got out my inner samurai and took a trek to Yomi.
Yo, your Jesus story is getting wild now. You were Jesus one week, and now you're a samurai.
I don't
remember this from the Bible.
Sorry, that's the new King James edition.
I want to read it.
Where Jesus says, while you were all eating unleavened bread, I practiced the blade.
Right. This is in the Deluxe Testament.
Mall Ninja Jesus.
I think that you will find that I am the winner.
Oh man.
No, I've been digging it. It's really interesting. It is such a it is so stylized after old-fashioned samurai films. It almost hurts at times. I honestly did turn off the film grain just because, between the complete black and white color palette, I sometimes had issues telling depth. But it's a really neat game. The movement, it's very linear. It's interesting to you can tell when a samurai is about to show up, because suddenly you start going from like having 3D movement to walking on a single plane. In that way, it almost kind of reminds me of those like weird horde modes in like Tekken 4, where it would very much be that you have your opponent, and that's who you will face. And everyone's super easy to cut down. I've been playing on the medium difficulty, but haven't really been having any trouble. I know that the parry the parry system is going to be important. At the moment, I don't think I've been able to successfully complete a parry, and that includes during the tutorial. I'm just not sure if I'm not getting the timing right, or whether I am getting the parry correct, and I'm just not it's just not doing anything flashy or video gamey to be like, haha, you completed the parry.
Can I ask? I know this is very inspired by Akira Kurosawa films, right? Super duper samurai. In terms of the game itself, is it more gameplay and it looks like a film, or are there cutscenes and moments where it's building the tension?
There have definitely been some cutscenes building the tension. I mean, to talk about just the chapter 1, it starts with you training and your village gets attacked, and so your sensei goes off, and you're told to stay behind, but then the daughter of the sensei tells you that you should go and protect the village too, and then there's you kill some people along the way, and then there's a showdown between your sensei and the big bad. And they even do the flash step whooshing as they pass each other. One completely falls, and then the other one looks okay for a little bit and then drops.
Classic.
Yeah, and the cutscenes are just so you could almost predict what is going to happen next, but it's just fun to see how faithful they are. But between those points, getting ambushed left, right, center, people coming in from front, people coming in from behind, you have 8 health to start with, and then the stamina gauge is very important. You can swing your sword 4 times at the beginning and you'll be out of stamina. So it's really about management and backstepping and parrying, and stuff. I'm sure like as more enemies get introduced, and like I know that I read our review, I know that it gets to like fighting ghosts and stuff. So that I'm sure will add some new tension and stuff. But for the most part, even on medium difficulty, it's just been like playing through a samurai film. But I've been digging it. It's a neat little like passion project. You can tell how much love there is for samurai flicks.
That's pretty rad. And you've been playing it it's on Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It came out on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also out on like all the other platforms.
Oh
right?
yeah, it's on like most things, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am resident Game Pass shill, and so when a new game pops up, I played Bug Snacks last week. Guess what just hit Game Pass?
Was it Bug Snacks?
Surprisingly, yes.
That's pretty awesome. I've been playing Turbo Overkill. That came out in early access at the end of April, and it is a boomer shooter is the best way to describe it, right? It feels very Quake. You move fucking fast.
You ask for a lot of managers.
You do, yes. But I think the thing that makes it stand out to me, because when I played it at PAXs that I've been to, your right leg is a chainsaw, or it can turn into a chainsaw.
So it's Planet Terror?
I
guess so, right? Yeah, but in gameplay mechanics, you can like do a slide, right? Like that's pretty common in shooters, but your slide is like you fucking go. It's your sprint. When you already move really fast, your slide, you can just keep on going, and you just kick your leg out and turn it into a chainsaw and buzz through enemies.
That's so rad.
And what makes it better too is there's a momentum system like Apex Legends. So if you're going downhill, you go faster. And there are arenas that just look like skate parks. Like straight up, there are skateboards around. You can't ride them, but so you can like go down half pipes with your chainsaw leg and just destroy people. And that's before you even shoot a gun.
That sounds like the perfect evolution of like the speed and momentum of games like Quake.
I'm pretty sure it was at least partially inspired by that. Like, it's
a boomer shooter.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
it's one of those things that's like it's a perfect example of like why what sets games apart a lot of times, and what draws people to games. Not everybody's going to be down for this kind of game, but there's a definite humongous overlap with people that even if you're not going to play it, you're like, that sounds fucking cool. Like, like that is a thing that's like, all right, that's why I remember why I like games now. Like,
like it's just one of those video game games.
Well, it's like everybody, even if nobody played Doom, like when Doom 2016 came out, it's like, that's fucking rad. Like, that's pretty great.
Yeah. The game is just like dripping with style. It's very like it's super cyberpunk Blade, like clearly Blade Runner. Like there's the big giant dancing hologram girl in the backgrounds and stuff like that. Your weapons they fulfill most of your typical archetypes you would think of, but everything's alt fire is pretty neat. Like so your basic pistols is dual pistols, but your alt fire, if you hold down right click, is you start twirling the one in your left hand while your right hand charges up a big blast, and you can just lock onto 5 enemies and immediately nuke them. And it makes no sense. I can't explain to you why it happens, but it just does, and it feels fucking cool.
It doesn't need to be explained. Exactly. Yeah. The rule of cool, man. That's all that matters.
Exactly. Your minigun turns into a flamethrower, because why not, right? Like, it's just dumb stuff. It's very dumb, but in a cool way.
I bet if the flamethrower wasn't the mini-game alt fire, then there would just be a flamethrower in the game regardless.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. No, so it's just rule of cool, very fun, very rad. It is hard though. Like I've been playing on the medium difficulty. I guess I don't play like that many boomer shooters, so like maybe I'm just bad at these kind of games, but it's like it's one of those where if you stop moving, you die pretty much instantly. So yeah. But Turbo Overkill. It's pretty cool. It's only early access right now in Steam, but
I know we have more in our preview too, because Austin played it and he liked it so much he said he'd give it a 10 right now if he could.
Yeah.
So,
not that we don't score early.
We don't score early access games, so it's not scored. But
And he may just be wrong as well. We don't know.
That's also true.
Maybe he's an idiot. I don't know. Maybe the game sucks.
Yeah.
And so there is a story to it, or is it just a story that is a mechanism for putting you in weird scenarios?
That's how it feels, the second one, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, not that the story is like bad, but I feel so far that it's very like, okay, like, you know, there's a big bad evil virus that's taking over, like it's a cyberpunk future world, so everything is like half android, half whatever, and this virus wants to take over everything because it's the final evolution and humanity isn't evolving anymore. So you're just there to like destroy the virus in ways that you can destroy it. Not groundbreaking by any means, but it's a good reason to buzzsaw through enemies with your legs, so I'll take it.
Yeah,
when in
what
Rome.
more do you need?
Yeah. But yeah, that's Turbo Overkill, and I think that's our show for the week. I don't know, do you want to talk spoilers for Horizon, or do you want to maybe say that for another week?
If you guys want to talk about it.
I have not played it yet because I don't own a PS5 because I just haven't bought one yet.
It's on PS4 though.
It's the PS4 Advantage.
It's on PS4.
Yeah.
It is on PS4.
I didn't even know.
No.
Okay, so here's what
Tells
we'll
you
do.
how much
we'll
I
talk.
pay attention to the Sony ecosystem, and I
We'll talk
barely pay
spoilers.
attention to the Xbox.
Yeah, we know you
ecosystem.
like shit games, so
Yeah,
No, I
like
like
Elex.
PC games.
And he likes Elex.
You guys are such haters. Like,
I mean, it could be worse. It could be Dynasty Warriors 4.
yeah, that's true.
hey, rolls off my back because I know the truth.
How about, what if we talk spoilers another week? That gives, I mean, right, if you want some time to play the game.
He'll never play it.
I'll probably pick it up soon. Then.
Rut, we know you have nothing else going on in your week, so just go ahead and play 72 hours of Horizon Forbidden West for PlayStation 4 before next week, and we can chat then.
That's right.
Well, and I still need to beat Zero Dawn on whatever the hardest difficulty is, because that's my last achievement.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll give you 150 hours to get through all the Horizon stuff. But yeah, I think that'll do it for our podcast this week. We hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please feel free to leave a review on whatever platform you were listening on, or let us know in the comments below on YouTube or on our site. How do you feel about Embracer buying all of these? I mean, really all of these studios, but specifically the Western ones from Square Enix. Are you excited to see a new Tomb Raider under the Embracer banner? Are you excited to see Square Enix focusing more on their Japanese studios? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you want more content from us, we're always publishing news, reviews, and features every day of the week. And if you want more of this show, this podcast will be back in your feed next Monday. We'll see you then.